Hey, just so you guys know, quick housekeeping announcement that does not include this guy on the mic. 1 second. Are you live?
Yeah. Oh, I'm recording, yeah.
We're about to tell you guys what's going on. Hold on. Yeah. Just so you guys know, we had an issue with the watermelon sorbet. You got to actually have frozen fruit to make sorbet. I apologize. If anybody wants watermelon, we'll scoop some out for dessert, but it's not sorbetable. Kitchen, if you can help me get some watermelon for dessert, I got a hell yeah on that. I knew Okies liked watermelon. So first of all, I'd like to welcome everybody on social media. We are at an underground supper club. I'm excited to talk to everybody here. We've got some awesome guests. We've got an awesome educational lineup. We've gone through a 5-course infused meal that include all a hemp protein base. Per FDA standards, all that is hemp seeds, hemp stock, hemp protein, and the hemp oil that it produces that we can all buy at the grocery store now, which is awesome. So we've used that as our base, and we've done several different really creative things with the menu. So we'll show you guys the menu later on social media, but we'll give you a little sneak preview. Because the good news is, guys, the entrees are on their way out, and for me, when I thought about this supper club, really one of the most important things was education. How do we help people? How do we do something different? This whole Chef Tony thing has really just given me a bigger platform to be a bigger educator and help people with the therapeutic side of that planet. So to me, this night, that's what this is about. And I'm excited because we have an incredible lineup planned for you guys. In fact, if you guys are on social media, tag some of this and let other people know that we're going to have some speakers coming up. I'll be talking a little bit more as we weave through this and as I MC it about cooking with cannabinoids. And then I've got Rick Naya. Rick is a grower. He can tell you more about some of the things he's done. But the whole night has been themed as patient considerations. So it's patient considerations for cooking with cannabinoids as a superfood. Rick's going to talk to us about patient considerations for growing cannabis at home for your family. And Dr. Regina Nelson is going to talk to us about patient considerations for therapeutic and educational resources. She does a lot of that, I can tell you guys. And then we had a big question mark on our menu, guys, because I didn't want to announce it until something happened. And the cool thing is, in fact, anybody on social media, this is going to be what you're going to get excited about. If we come over here, we've got patient considerations for legal aspects from a guy you guys might know. He's going to come up and talk to us later. If you guys don't know the Shut the Fuck Up attorney, Mark Wasserman. This is Mark. He's part of Hart Brothers Law. He's here with my friends Ford and Shayna, and brought Mark out here. So he's going to be talking to us about some patient considerations that we should have for legal aspects. So I'm excited for this to line up. For the first supper club, we could not have a more incredible lineup. I was shocked when we got Mark available in here. So Dr. Regina is doing a lot of different things. Just true national experts, and I'm excited to have them here at the first OKC Supper Club. So how's everything taste so far, guys? You guys enjoyed the first course? All right. So for our friends at home on social media, you can tell we're having a lot of fun, a lot of amazing food. I would go ahead and like to bring Rick up here. And Jeff, where are you? Jeff Pender? Come on up here, bring your friend. Give him a hand, guys. Rather than me trying to introduce Rick, because I just met him and I really like him, I want Jeff, tell me a little bit about your friend Rick here and why you want him to come talk to us tonight.
Well, guys, Rick's an activist out of New Hampshire. I met him through social media a few years back. He throws events. He's a grower. He throws his own cup called the New Hampshire Freedom Festival. He's an all-around great guy. He's actually helped me through a lot of the times when I needed him. I figured he'd be able to maybe guide you guys a little bit as well.
Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate that. Thank you as well. I'd like to take a minute to, because I'm not from here, and I want to take a minute and thank Greenboro Expo, Griffin, Green Hope Wellness Clinic, the ECS Therapy Center, Medican OK, and Green and Clean Gourmet Chefs. I want to thank all of you. You should be very proud to do that. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Rick. Appreciate that. I want you guys to know there is vegan options or vegetarian options. If anybody wants a vegan or vegetarian option, can you raise your hand? Everybody want the full-on entree? One. Hi, Alice. You made it. Yeah. Oh, your logo was up there, so we already took it down. one vegan option. Anything else? Any other special requests? Tell the waiters. So each speaker is going to come up here and talk for about 10 or 15 minutes on patient consideration. I think growing is essential because when I think about, you can touch on this if you can. Hopefully I'm not leaving this. But one of the best therapeutic effects is juicing raw cannabis. So we actually had some raw leaves juiced into the canajitos that we made tonight. So I think everybody should be growing at home is my point. And that's why I'm really excited to have Rick talk to you. I'm excited to learn from you as well because I'm about to start my own home grow, Rick. So thanks a lot. Glad you're here.
Thank you. Again, thank you everybody. I really appreciate it. And thank you all for being here. I really appreciate it. I'm an activist at heart, basically. I'm from Palm Beach, Florida. I moved to New Hampshire many years ago, about 30. And as a child, I was very fortunate to acquire some cannabis from different portions of the world. And they cross-pollinated and it created the Gainesville Green, which is considered the very first American hybrid. And I didn't know that they consider me the great-grandfather of hybrid cannabis. But I didn't know that until last year after spending 45 years of growing cannabis throughout my lifetime. I had to do it behind closed doors because of my mother's political affluence and my family. So I had to do a lot of what I did very covertly and quietly. And to find out after becoming New Hampshire's primary cannabis activist, I drove our policies and held legislators accountable to common sense policy. And I helped write our laws and rules and bills and held them accountable and became the counsel of New Hampshire's Cannabis Commission. And I got an opportunity to speak to all different types of politicians throughout the nation to learn and from the mistakes from other states that they were experiencing and try to develop a policy for New Hampshire. So that's kind of what brings me here, but I'm a man of many hats, and one of them is growing cannabis. And I'm a master grower. I'm a breeder and designer of some of the rarest cannabis on earth, and I have a vault of seeds that probably supersedes most people's expectations just due to the fact that I've been able to travel the world due to my mother's position in the embassies and meeting a lot of cool cooks and maids and groovy lawnskeepers and so forth. And while many of us were going around collecting spoons and stamps and postcards, I was collecting the cannabis and the seeds. And I thought that that was like so cool. It was better than a rock or anything else. And, you know, a young kid that loves cannabis, it was something that was fortuitous to me. So I just kept collecting and collecting and collecting seeds from valleys, from Kandahar, Iran, from Pakistan, from Vietnam, from all over the world. And many of these varieties have died. And I've had the seeds, and I'll be releasing them in the next several years through a elite growers group that we're forming. So let's get to cannabis growing, and many of us don't have the experience of growing cannabis. We've been consuming it through friends and families, or from dealers on corners, and whoever we can really get it from. I know in Oklahoma there's a large farming community, so I'm sure there's been a lot of it growing for many years. And I found a lot of good cannabis while I was here, and some that was a little overly fed, and a lot of the nuances of people who are trying to get into an industry and have their cannabis, you know, the best they can make it, or to force feed it, or whatever they can to really make it the best genetics they can get. And what I'm learning, and I have learned throughout the last 40 years, it's an indicative situation that many growers go through, and many companies go through when we start. It's basically, I'll share with you, if you're going to do this at home and you have a family, and we have children, and if you don't have children, you're pretty blessed. And until then, just know that if we do have children, that we have to keep this in an open fashion with good morals and a good foundation for our children to move forward with common sense in the future. I believe in an open dialogue with my children, none of which use cannabis, and they think, Dad, what are you doing? They're busy on their phones and playing games. They don't understand the true significance of what we are doing as a community and an industries and an arena. That's what I call us. We're in an arena due to the amount of different industries that proliferate from cannabis. And if there's one thing I've learned throughout the years is the symbiotic relationship that we develop, not only within our household and our children and our community and our pets,
but the ones that we have indicatively when we grow cannabis. We have a bond with cannabis. Cannabis is like any being. It has an electromagnetic resonance in the field that it has. It also has a heat signature, that of a human's. And that is really quite rare in the plant world, that when they do that form of research, that it emits an energy like our own. It's quite rare in any plant world or being world, and that's very unusual for us to start understanding that when we do grow cannabis now, we have a relationship with it. Not only that the grower has that particular love and tender care with their plant, but the entire identity of the company. And I get called upon by large industry, and they ask me, Naya, we've been growing this for years, this is what's happening, and we can't seem to get a harness on this, and why are we having these problems? And then I meet the groups of the different people and employees, and I hang out for the week or 10 days, and we chill. And then I come to find what's happening is that industry is turning itself into the mechanism. Let's turn this thing into the machine that we need, because we have, an ROI. We have people who are funding a business that we're trying to make a return on. But we lose track. It might not be the grower about this. It might not be that, but it's a communal thing. It's really quite odd. Having a symbiotic relationship with cannabis, not only while we're growing it, and it's sensing you and it's sensing it, like a dog's hair on its back, or when a lightning strikes we shudder, or we get goosebumps when we hear joyous things or music that turn us on. Cannabis is the same way, it can sense these things. And that electromagnetic sense that we emit. Our soul, our energy, our whatever you want to call it, your God gene is emitting something through the mitochondrial energy that's produced in our cells, and the vibrations that creates, this plant can sense. So at home, if you're going to grow, remember, there are a number of fundamentals with cannabis, and I think most of us all know: water, light, food, nutrients, and tender loving care. But what we forget to realize, if we're going to be growing at home and we're a patient, and we're patient driven, and in this state, this is a medical bill that we're riding on, and as we can all see, it's growing exponentially very quickly. And I'm sorry about my attire today. I was at the very first inaugural Oklahoma High Times Cup. And on behalf of the industry and High Times, I want to thank everybody that's here. I spend a lot of my time at events throughout the nation and share the cannabis love and education. Let's get down to fundamentals. If you're going to be growing at home, let's try to keep the children out of the picture and educate them about why. And let's let them be adults before they make this decision. Though there are studies that are out there that are stating that youth usage is indicative of slower brain growth. That study was just expunged. It was refuted. Because the reason that they did do that, it's kind of long, but what happened was the woman that did study was studying people who are minorities and of the lowest of the socioeconomic classes that are available to do a study, and that's what she chose to go with. And if you learn and you're in the medical field, you'll understand what happens to those of us who don't come from affluence or middle income and come from poor and misfortunate backgrounds. It's really quite indicative of what cannabis does and what we've done to it. So again, back to the home basics. If you're going to grow at home, it's a clean environment. We're a medical grade industry. I do everything, and my grows have been this way from the very beginning, and I learned this from Ed Rosenthal, that every time you do a harvest, you clean the entire room. And I use peroxide. I don't use chemicals that are dangerous for you, and I don't use them on my plants ever. I don't use any chemicals at all on my plants. And I keep a very sterile room, and I keep it closed, and I have intake and outtake so that you don't smell any cannabis. I have filtration systems that do that, lighting on timers and watering. I have learned through many years of practice, there are different forms of growing at home. It can be done organically, and it can be done hydroponically, aerohydroponically. And there's a lot of ways to grow, but to be basic, many of us go with a pro mix. And then what we do is we mix the pro mix with other additives, and we develop a soil. My favorite way, and I've been doing this now for over 30 years, is I use both Fox Farm varieties of the soil, the frog and the salamander in the ocean. I mix that with Coco Noir, 1 inch or 1.5 inch large perlite, not the 3/4. I use a very large perlite and Coco Noir, and I mix this together in a baby pool, and I fluff it up, and it gets kind of dry, and you think, wow, the soil got absorbed by all of these other things, and that's a good thing. And then I get a 20-gallon pail, and I fill up a layer, and I add feather meal, bone meal, and diatomaceous earth. Should be writing this down. And then I do that again and again and again. And when I finish, I float the top of my soil bag with diatomaceous earth, and it looks like talcum powder was put over my grow medium. And then I insert my, my solo cup or my fledgling into that soil, and I begin with a very low pH water, whether you use reversed osmosis or distilled or keep dechlorinated water available, oxygenated. And I only use a very little bit of minerals in my first watering. That's it. I don't use anything because my soil is already developed for water and its sustenance is already within that base. So the first 3, 5, 6 feedings is just water. And I watch my plant grow from a lovely clone into an immature fledgling plant. And then you'll start noticing that the plant looks like it might need some nitrogen. It might not look lush or green. It's kind of lime and it's starting to look a little peaked. So you watch your plants and you orchestrate a very light mixture of nitrogen. I don't use teas. I heard growers, oh, my tea, my tea, my tea. But because I'm a very specialized grower and I'm finding some of the rarest cannabis on earth and developing them, I use nothing but minimal water or vegan nutrients. Very little. I don't, I hear people talking about part per million, about 1,200, 800, 1,000, and I look and I go, but I've done them over 400 or 5. It's not necessary in the environment for production. Now at home, it's not necessary either. What's really critical about growing at home is not overfeeding plants. And if you have a multiple variety of different plants, not all plants like the same chocolate shake or tea. Some like a sweetened tea, some like it with lemon, some don't want any sugar, some like a diet, and that's how it rolls. But you learn that through the variants and varieties that you start growing, and hopefully you grow ones that are indicative of your medical needs, and you grow them cleanly. So that's what I try to do. I win a lot of cannabis awards and trophies by doing this and allowing my plants to tell me what they need, not what the bottle tells me it's supposed to be forced. I don't think anybody would disagree that if you didn't like a chocolate shake and they tried to force it down your throat every single day, that you probably wouldn't be all so happy. And that's kind of what it's like at home. We like a clean environment. We like fresh water. We like good sustenance and farm-to-table nutrients from our gardens and our organics and farmers that we know locally. And we support that with good light. And another good factor is if you're growing in water, if you're using water, the EMC, the electromagnetic currents in water also affect the way cannabis grows. And be in tune to that. Also vibrations and noise or music. There's a lot of things that go on with cannabis in the environments that we have. They acquiesce in such a way that no other plant does what it can do. Not only does it remove radioactive things from soils, it also replenishes soils in alternating harvests. So it's really quite a unique plant for all of us, and the roots as well. When I grow at home, and now in this day that we're using oils and generating different forms of profits, consider your roots at the end of your grow. And in the medium that I use, I'm able to put my stalks and the base into a vat, and I rinse my bags out. And I keep all of my soil because I've used such light amounts of anything that once I rinse it out of this vat, all of my soil is still prepared to use again. That's a very key way for growers to get ahead in a large scale. And at home, you should be penny wise and not dollar foolish because, again, cannabis, we call it a weed for a reason. It grows like a weed. And there's another thing too, that some of the championship growers that we know, yes, they've been in the industry a long time, but it's funny how a lot of times a woman or no one you know just so happen to fall in love with their plant and design something that no one else had and wins an award for it. So if you're at home and you're growing, be selective with the growing or the seeds that you're going to use. If you want to grow large seeds, I recommend a company by the name of MTG. They're called Grow Home or Grow Big or Grow Home. They grow very, very large 10 to 15 pound plants. And that's very indicative of having a lot of medicine at home for yourselves or what your business might be. And if not, and you want something quick and you need medicines, look at some autoflowers. They return quickly. Watch your humidity. Make sure you give clean water. And above all, create an environment that your plants feel. And if you do that, they will reward you with probably a little bit more than you originally thought. And another thing too, when you're growing at home, don't rush. The biggest thing that I always find is that people think that the cannabis, if it says it's done in 60 days, okay, it's done, let me cut it down. It is not. You've got to watch the calyx growth and the development of the trichomes because cannabis typically flowers in 3 phases. Many of us think the first flowering is done, and some think the second flowering, oh yeah, look, it's already tight and it looks good. But cannabis, if you feed it the right regime and the way that you rinse it, will produce a 3rd flowering. And that's when you see that stuff that's like popcorn balls and all these large trichomes and large calyxes. That's done with patience and clean rinsing at the end. So when you're home, be very patient with your grow and don't think just because it says 60 or 70 or 80 days and it's going to be done. It could be 100 or 115 or 20 days before she finally finishes. Don't overfeed. Please, just the biggest key to our growing experience is don't overfeed. Use pH balanced water. I always start out with 5.4 to 5.6, and it's a great range to keep your plants very healthy for a long time. And I hope that advice helps you guys for a good, healthy grow at home. And if you have any questions later, I'll be happy to answer them and hang out with you.
Good news is plates are coming out, guys. You see we've got a pulled pork with seared asparagus, seared green beans. Those are pork seared, so if you want vegetarian, we've got some special vegetarian. With the veggies have been pork seared with some pork seared Brussels sprouts and some rainbow potatoes. So we've got a chef's plate that's about to come out. Maybe any time now. But the entrees are on the way for you guys. It's actually sitting on a mushroom demi-glaze, which is a French-based sauce. So I actually tried to switch it up when I designed this menu. We had some Mediterranean flair with some smoked peppers and that relish that we made in the salad. And then this, we've got some nice oaky hickory smoked pulled pork. But we threw some fancy French demi-glaze on there. So all that is about to come out, and I would like to welcome up our next speaker. Thank you. You had to heckle me again, didn't you, Ford? He loved it. Surprised he's only sent two little heckles over there tonight. Yeah, if you guys notice with the patient considerations, thank you. As you guys can see, I want to show our friends here on social media. We are having a pulled pork tonight, some roasted, rainbow roasted potatoes and pork seared veggies. It's going to be quite delicious, so I hope everybody enjoys. And John Fraser, you the man. Thanks for being here and running this. So this is for John Fraser. There we go.
Oh, brother,
everybody give it up for John Fraser.
I love it.
Yeah. Love you, John Fraser. Old school. That's what we're supposed to call him.
Give my barbecue.
So I'm excited because I'd like to share the patient considerations with our friends at home. Again, we've got Dr. Regina Nelson here from ECS Therapy. Right? You guys have heard of her, huh? You guys like Dr. Reg? I like to call her Doc Reg because Dr. Regina Nelson is kind of a mouthful, isn't it? But yeah, Doc Reg has gotten to be a friend of mine. It's so awesome. The first big expo I did, or first big event I did, was with the Green Grow Expo, and I met Doc Reg there. And we have not only got to work together and share our ideas and work together on education, but we've also connected and became friends. So I'm really excited that she could be here tonight. She's the one at one point I thought about saying this need to be postponed another month because things weren't going right. And she's like, no, do it. So give Doc Reg a hand because we might not be here tonight, but waiting for her.
Thank you. And timing is lovely because I have been so looking forward to this course. I'm just going to walk around and pick on all your plates. So welcome. This is great. God, it smells so good, Tony. I have been in the cannabis cup all day. I am so hungry and it smells so good and everything has been so delicious. Give it up for Tony. That mango dressing. Oh, man, I'm gonna have to find out how to make that. That just got me. But I appreciate being here. For those of you who don't know, I'm a native Oklahoman. I was born in Tahlequah and raised, graduated high school in Tulsa. My first ex-husband graduated from NSU back in Tahlequah. My oldest son was born there. And then I moved to California for a while, for about 10 years, moved back and raised my family in Verdigris, Oklahoma for a while until my job at WorldCom, if you guys remember that, way back in the day, took me to Houston, and the whole company imploded. And anyway, my job has been bouncing around all over since, and I ended up on this PhD path in 2010. And when I chose the topic of social injustice to follow as medical marijuana, I was told, wow, you really need to be very careful with that, or you will throw your whole PhD just away. And the more I got that visceral response, the more I was like, hey, there's really something to this. And when I learned about the endocannabinoid system, that just like changed it for me. Like, you're telling me I have this system in my body that balances it, and when I use marijuana, I feel balanced, and when I'm not using it, I don't crave it like I'm addicted to it. I just kind of miss being balanced. Maybe it's because I didn't understand what it was doing for me. And so the more I come to know about that, you guys know me as an educator in the cannabis. I like the word arena. I use it a lot. I also use the word space because industry, wow, it's still just like insane out in this industry, and I've always been rather ancillary to it. I'm now stepping into it in the state of Oklahoma with my family that is here, and I am one of the partners in Nelson Organics with my brother Gary Nelson and his wife Pam Nelson, and our partner David Gann, so Nelson Organics. And we're going to be growing in Rogers County. We've just broken ground and we've just pushed in a pond. We've just planted some seed to start our own ecosystem, and I'm so excited. But my journey as a PhD has led me in a lot of different directions, including, really focusing in on doctor-patient communication, why people become medical cannabis patients, and kind of what those outcomes are. But I also have a patient journey, and along that way I've published several books that, including The Survivor's Guide to Medical Cannabis, which is just kind of a how-to guide, because this was a resource that I was looking for when I got sick. If you could have given me a book and told me how to do this, I could follow a recipe. And I was isolated. I couldn't order it on Amazon, but to go out and hunt that information down took me years to put it together in a comprehensive way. So I'm really pleased to have kind of followed that and kind of continued on with that with the condition training programs that I conduct. And we've just accredited the level 3, which is the third and final level of the condition training program. I really looked at it when I developed it as an educated step up, and it really started for bud tenders, thinking, well, what's kind of a little higher than a bud tender? If you work with cannabis and you're working with people, you're kind of working like a clinician, but truthfully, bud tenders can't give medical advice, and neither can doctors. And so kind of what's left in between? Well, giving people some really good guidelines that can help a lot of people kind of along the way and avoid some of the major pitfalls, particularly with euphoria, but also with other maybe side effects and things of using cannabis. Because if people have a bad experience, they don't want to come back to something that might be really good for them. And it's important to address those fears with people. This has been the longest prohibition we've ever seen on anything. And so there's so much myth and so much falsehood. So I just try to like dispel a whole lot of that. So people start off on an even keel. And as we build that, the level 1, each of the sections, each of the modules include 4 classes. And the first one includes time for the talk about doctor-to-patient communication, but really it also helps people talk and communicate with family members. And it's interesting, I was talking with Renee with Green Home Wellness, who's also a table sponsor here tonight. And you know, when 788 first passed, the big insurge we saw patient recommendations were from advocates and people who have been out there. Well, now we're seeing family and relatives and neighbors, and it's spreading. And that's why it's consistently so high here in Oklahoma, is because of word of mouth. So we've been out doing education in Oklahoma, but I do it all over the country. I do it internationally. I have classes online to kind of help bring people through that and to learn more about the endocannabinoid system, just some basic targeted dosing. There are people here in Oklahoma that have gone through my Train the Trainer series and are doing some of the same certifications, but also doing other education in the field. People like Chef Tony, who's here tonight, people like Tiffany Stewart of Watch Song. I have people that license my curriculum and kind of teach all over the country because I kept running into people who really wanted to be educators in their community, but sitting down and building a base curriculum is difficult. It takes time. And that was something I was good at from my corporate days back at WorldCom and Human Resources. I was the one that got to build training decks for things like sexual harassment training and lots of fun things like that, and then take it out, teach a bunch of HR people, and then let them go and train it, you know? And so that's really what I've done with this condition training. So as we move to level 2, it gets more in depth on the endocannabinoid system, more in depth on therapy planning, because when people come to this, you know, people have been chronically ill for a while. They have some really sometimes miraculous things that will happen, some great symptom relief, but it doesn't cure them. But consistent use over a long period of time will help them develop a better and better quality of life. As I continue to use cannabis consistently in my diet, and I smoke and vape too, you guys have seen me back and forth to the dab bar, right? And by the way, the really nice rig, it's mine, along with the email. We brought it, we were asked to provide it, we travel with it. And then I've just announced that I'm putting out the level 3 condition certifications. We've just got the accreditation, outside accreditation on it. And we're going to talk more specifically about treating people for specific conditions. Cancer, opiate withdrawal and addiction, chronic illness, and then working with seniors, because the biggest population we see of people using cannabis now are senior citizens, because they have the most to benefit by it. They're the most prescribed population, and they're starting to feel those side effects. That's one of the things my parents have talked about mostly, is they just tired of side effects and needing other medicines to address side effects. So a number of groups out in Oklahoma, but across the country, have really implemented that within their organizations. Groups like Green Home Wellness, who's right at this table. Groups like the Life Store, who's getting ready to open, who are over at this table. But many other groups that are in the country, because it just kind of gives you a base to work from, and some really steady things that you can talk to people about and help them get a good start. And so we're trying to put those resources out there to empower educators in communities all over the place, because no one knows your community better than you do. I know Oklahoma well, but I haven't lived here in a while. I'm currently looking at rental property. So I'm transitioning. I have my driver's license. And I figure if I ever get pulled over in Oklahoma, I can be pretty out of it as long as I'm better than that picture. Because it looks like I spent 3 days like on a meth bench. I've got a monsoon on my way into the DMV, and you know, they don't care. So it's a little blurry. I gotta admit, my mugshot from 2018 in Oklahoma looks better than my driver's license. But look how far we've come since I got arrested in February 2018. Wow, has Oklahoma changed? And for those of you who don't know, that case was dismissed because 788 gave myself and my son and our other passenger all the legal right to carry more than that was in the car when we got stopped for maybe not having our blinker on for 400 feet before the exit. And I knew he'd already tagged me for being in a Colorado run car, so that blinker was effing on. But all that said, this is my home state. This is where my family is. And I got a call 2 nights ago that someone in my family has cancer. And I need to sit down with them and have a real serious talk. Because they've already told me no thank you before. And now they need to know they can't tell me no thank you. They really, I know some stuff they need to know. We can pray about it, but we need to talk about it. And that's where things are going. More and more people are talking, and no one has progressed faster than Oklahoma. But we're getting ready to go to Africa Red and conduct training with their staff, because it's this thing. Patients here, they want that educated step up when they go in their retail establishments, when they grow at home. They want to know that they're moving in the right directions. And they're moving in an organic way. They're not using Miracle-Gro. This is something I scream about. Because I'm a patient and I see the damage that not knowing some really important things, key things, can do. Like testing. And you guys are going to start seeing testing, and you're going to see a whole lot of growers go away in the state. A whole lot, because they can't meet those requirements. And they should go away. They were okay in the black market, but this is now a regulated medical market. It's different. And if I have to pay a license fee, I expect the product that I'm going to get is safe.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Right? And so those are the things. I often feel like I'm kind of got the reputation of being the Ralph Nader in the cannabis space. But I'm a patient, first and foremost. And so I do consulting in the cannabis space and a lot of education. I have a for-profit company called Integral Education Consulting. It's a limited liability company. But I also, most of my work falls under the umbrella of a nonprofit that I run called the ECS Therapy Center. We have a booth out at High Times. When you guys come through the general admission, if you go straight and you don't veer off to see the big stage, we are the first booth. And if you walk out, if you miss us on the way in, we're there. We saw so many people today. I think I dabbed with like 50 of them. I actually still have some pretty good energy. So we had a good time. We were figuring that out when we were back at the thing, putting the donations away for the nonprofit. But we run the Plant a Seed for Cannabis Education Tour. We sponsor or scholarship a lot of people through education who can't afford to come otherwise, but have chronic or terminal illness and really need that base education. And then again, we go out and we train whole groups, and we do different training events out in the area. We packaged our release of, so we'll have out level 1, 2, and 3 at Green Grow Expo, September 27th through 29th in Tulsa at the Renaissance. And I gotta tell you guys, if you had told me even 5 years ago, I'd be in my hometown teaching the certification program that hundreds are expected to attend, I'd be like, no shit. And I'm so proud of the work my son Brian and I have done here, along with Tiffany and Tony and several others who come to support. But I'm so pleased to, every time I've gone to Green Grow events, they just put on excellent events, and I've met so many incredible people from so many past life. So I'm really thrilled to be working with them for that level 3 rollout. And because a lot of people have already come through level 1 and 2 here, but we're going to have all 3. Tony will be teaching the level 1. Tiffany Stewart is going to be covering level 2. And I'll be doing level 3. So you can join us September 27th through 29th. My birthday is September 26th. And I will have just gotten back from England and Amsterdam. I can't announce who I'm going to speak to in the United Kingdom, but it's big, you guys. Keep your fingers crossed. I'm super excited. and then I'm going to Amsterdam. And then I will be back, and so I'm going to be a little jet lagged, but I'm super excited, and I hope you guys will join us, and I want to thank Tony for inviting us to be here tonight. And I'm going to sit down and eat my meal because it smells delicious. Thank you, guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, Tony Freitas.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ford Austin, give it up for Ford. My buddy. So, how's the food tasting, guys?
Outstanding.
Good news is, don't clear your plate if you want some more, because there's more, there's seconds, we can bring more out. We're gonna have them walking around, we're gonna do drink refills. We've got one more speaker that we're gonna bring up here. And then we'll be taking a break for dessert. So I am really excited about this. I know this guy can keep you guys' attention, and then we'll take a 4:20 break and come back for dessert.
You don't want to do the
You guys
4:20
might
break
see that
first?
later. What's
You don't
that?
want to do the 4:20 break first?
Do you want to do a 4:20 break first?
I always want to do that.
Yeah.
Sounds like, here, let's try that again. Ask him again.
You want to take a 4:20 break now or after?
Now! Yay!
I heard him all go, yeah, now! It's all good.
Right now.
You guys want to take a break now?
Yeah.
All right. Everybody got enough food?
Oh yeah, brother.
Let me say a couple things and then we'll end the social media. And just so you guys know, we're going to take a break. We'll come back in about 15 minutes after we stop this video, and we'll come back live again and bring up what I like to call the shut the fuck up attorney. Sounds better when you say it fast too, I think. That's how I like to say it. Shut the fuck up. Say it fast. Does that sound good? Shut the fuck up.
All I had to do was get up and say, shut the fuck up, and then that was
Come over here, let's practice. You say it. Let's tell everybody at home what's coming in about 15 minutes. And you guys get the word out. You let them know what's coming up next.
All right, I'll give you a quick 1 minute what's coming up. It's all about something called the script, and it applies to cannabis patients because cops mess with you, fuck with you. It's like another class of people they're discriminating against because of the smell and all this other shit. And you're more prone to deal with cops just for getting pulled over for whatever. And we have 25 words called the script that we say. And these are the only 25 words you say to the cops. Why did you pull me over? I'm not discussing my day. Am I being detained? Am I free to go? I invoke the fifth. And then when they keep asking questions, you shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Well, I'll talk for about an hour and a half.
Wait. All I want to know is, am I saying it right, or does he say it? How much better does he say it, guys? Because I like to say, shut the fuck up really quick.
That's perfect. As long as you remember to shut the fuck up when cops ask questions.
Yeah.
That's how it's said right there. That's what I want to hear. So again, if you're on social media, we're going to take a quick break. Let everybody know Mark's going to be talking to us in about 15 minutes, 10 minutes. You guys got 10 minutes-ish. So, everybody enjoy. Again, there's restrooms upstairs. Restrooms upstairs. Currently,
Turn it off.
tonight.